Hey, what's going on, everyone? So we are live, and looks like we have a few people hopping on. So thanks for joining us. So we've never actually we've gone live before, on my personal account with Bottoms Up, and also for Zero to Hero, where Jen Kwok is the host, my wife. But we've actually not gone live much during the middle of the workday, and we're now on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Facebook, and all the social media channels. And today we want to just kind of dive in. We've been doing this series called Digital First consistently, I said, for probably the last easily 5 years, 5 to 6 years, where we produce a video every Wednesday and we put it out so consistently. And it's always internal content. But while our internal videographer is out in Rome on a project, we decided to try something a little different, and we wanted to just go live, like randomly. So here we are. So I have Steph with me. Steph is one of our staff members, and she's in charge of client relationships because relationships are everything. And it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, and relationships is everything. So, Steph, why don't you introduce yourself? Even though I introduce you.
No worries.
Yep.
Hey guys, what's going on? So I am Steph Conway. I actually started out as an intern with J29, and then I have been with them for what, 6 months now?
Yeah.
About five, six
6 months.
months. And I turned into the relationship manager.
Yep. So let's talk a little about, the heart of our series and everything, Steph. So fire away. So she has some questions for me, and I wanted to answer and
Yeah.
just tell our audience why we do what we do.
So Kevin, my first question is, who is J29?
Yeah. So J29, so we get this question a lot, So J29 Creative Group, it started out with as J29 Global. So I had a company in a small town, Springfield, Missouri. I've always been an entrepreneur, and it's named after a Bible verse. So it's Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, plans to give you hope and a future. It's one of those things we want it to be subtle. In business, people don't talk about politics. They don't supposed to talk about religion, and that's what they teach you in school. But obviously, on social media, is a little different. But everyone talks about politics and everyone talks about religion. So, but we want it to be subtle because it's meaningful to me as the founder. So I really feel, that confidently that God has a plan for each and every one of us, and that there is hope. And sometimes we can be in the worst place in our life, which I've been in, where I lost everything. And but there's a plan and there's hope out there, and it takes us taking that first step and believing. So when I started J29, I wanted to name after the Bible first, but at first we were actually my background software engineering, and we started J29 Global in Springfield, Missouri, in a town that's smaller than even Kansas City. And it was one of those things where it was it was a small service type town with a college town vibe. And we were probably one of the first, I would say, hipster companies back in like 2002. So I'm dating myself. But anyway, we were young guys, and we had a downtown office. And really, I would say it was more IT consulting with like we started doing some web development because back then the web was still new, right? It was MySpace, I think, was the only social media platform.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was all new. And of course, then we found it after my journey through different small businesses I started, failing businesses as well. I came back to J29 and started in Kansas City. We're going into our 7th year, and it was founded on the whole idea of like marketing is relational, and marketing needs to be different. The old ways of just selling and bombarding people with lead generation is just not working. And we identified that 7 years, almost, I would say, going into our 7th year, so almost 7 years ago. I already saw that coming because I think people we're smarter consumers. We know, I mean, especially people, Stephanie, when someone's, it's a messaging bot or it's
Yes.
just BS.
Consumers have so much more access to the same technology that, business owners and companies do nowadays. So it's much easier for consumers to identify the quote schemes or scams or plans of a business.
I mean, I remember when like people were saying like text message is gonna be like, oh, you go get these high conversion rates. It's the most annoying thing on my phone. Like if I step into your business to look at something and now you go fire away because my Wi-Fi was on and you go text me, it's super annoying and I find it super intrusive.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we, when you said like, hey, how did J29 start? So that's what we did. We started J29 based of the whole idea of the challenges I had as a small business owner. It's usually you have a budget. You don't have help because you're a small business owner. So it's not like you start off with, usually majority of small business owners, they start off either themselves or partners with friends or it's with family members. Only if you're handed a silver spoon and, and you just get handed an empire. But that's not typical. Or you're a startup tech and you just have a creative idea and it takes off, right?
Right.
But that doesn't happen as much as the other way where, hey, you're just starting out with limited budget, limited resource. And so we wanted to be that resource. We knew that, hey, we're stepping into a new era 7 years ago where social media will be the be all. And we were very big on, hey, here's a low cost way to advertise, to connect, to build relationships. And we always say this even today, marketing hasn't ever changed. It's still same. The vehicles have changed.
Yes. So
like,
true.
It's no different. A TV, the goal of TV commercials, TV period, is to win attention. Same thing with radios. So with all this stuff, that's what we're trying to accomplish. And when it comes to social media, it's no different. You're trying to win on attention, but the beauty of social media is you can also take the relationship aspect. So the old way of doing business is, hey, I want to get to know Stephanie. Therefore, I'm going to hang out with her, get to know her, call her, build a relationship, invite people over for dinner. It's no different. You just take it onto social media.
Absolutely. When, Kevin, one of the things that you said to me that I have learned and I have felt is so important is that marketing in general is an ecosystem. You taught me all the different analogies to marketing, and the ecosystem was a beautiful explanation of being able to see all the different aspects.
Yep.
And then I also, you said that you digital first. We've been doing that for 6 years now. What led into you guys doing digital first?
Yeah, so digital first is kind of interesting. So we started doing videos for 6 years since the beginning. So we wanted to document this journey, right? Because I look back at some of my other ventures throughout the years, and I was like, man, I wish like video was a thing, right? Because back then there wasn't cell phones. I wish I could show you how J29 Global started and how all these young guys got together who, there wasn't social media. We were pounding the pavements. We're driving to Chicago. We have funny stories. Things that happen, like getting a car ticket for picking up chairs for a building. On the same highway, wigging by the same cop because we were watching DVDs on our computer. Those things I wish I documented because it's fun to go back to watch. And it's not only for marketing ourselves, right? It's even for me to look back, and it's fun to watch these videos because you get reminded of the journey and the challenges you went through, and you can actually learn from yourself, right? So we started thinking, hey, if we can be consistent and also practice what we preach, because even 6 years ago, we believe in doing video content on a regular, right? Documenting what's going on in the office, different things like that. So we were like, hey, if we go do something, we're going to practice what we preach. Because what I hate is going to a digital marketing agency, when I was actually a consumer, right? I was working for, a logistics software company, and we constantly shop for vendors to partner with us for marketing. And then the thing you notice is, okay, there's these people, example, they sell social media or websites. Then you go back to their pages and they're telling you to post every day, and they haven't posted since 2017.
Yep.
Or their website is just horrible and they're trying to sell me on a website, right? So we don't want that. We want, hey, if we're going to go do videos, we're going to go all in. We go practice what we preach, and we go document the results. And that's what we did. So we started religiously doing a video a week, even when there was no viewership. It was like crickets. Even when we looked super stupid and I hated the way I look, it didn't matter. And over time, year 1, year 2, year 3, it got easier and we got better at it. And now I got this library of content to utilize for marketing and also to look back on. I mean, I can YouTube search different topics that we've spoken about. So pretty much it's one, it was for us to document the J29 journey. 2, it was for us to tell you a story, because there's so much to J29 than just an about video.
Right.
Right. Because, Stephanie, in the short time you've been here, you've seen the good, the bad, the ugly, and the funny. Right. Yeah. It all happens on a daily basis. So,
you guys were ahead of the game, because, nowadays everybody wants to see the behind the scenes of it, but you guys were already showing the behind the scenes long time ago.
Yep, long time ago. Even when, and it's funny because you look back, you can see how we got better at videos. Yeah. It was also a way for us to practice and get better at what we do.
Right.
Some of the videos were just shot on like an old iPhone. It was just horrible, And then slowly we got better, and it got more cinematic, and it go back to more raw. And you just see all this. So just watching our videos, you'll see. Like, technology wasn't always perfect. And that's how easy marketing is. I think a lot of people overthink it.
Right? You just nailed it.
And as an agency, I would love for you to spend money and sell you on this idea, but that's BS, right?
Right.
The truth is, you can do marketing on a dime.
Mm-hmm.
You can take the resources you have and do it. Because to be honest, the funniest thing to me is you have all these people that think they just need to look like influencers and get all made up and ready, and their live show has to have the perfect mic, the perfect camera, the perfect background.
Yes,
it's great to have those things. But at the end of the day, you're trying to win attention. And if you can bring value to the table, do you think people really care? They're not looking for their next boyfriend or girlfriend. So they don't care how you look, okay? And if you're looking for your next boyfriend or girlfriend based on looks, then you're pretty shallow anyway.
Right.
So you're here to bring value. And I say, our audience out there, if you want to get into marketing, it's as easy. There are tools out there. Like today, we're using StreamYard, okay? And we're broadcasting live to multiple social media platforms, and I'm the one running it. I don't have a team behind me, okay, that can do it. Can we have a produced show? Yes. But does it really matter? No, because I want it to be authentic. I want to just speak my heart and have a conversation with Steph. And to me, if you don't like me now, then you probably won't like me as a client.
Mm-hmm.
So, yep.
And for, marketing, I think, unfortunately, small to medium businesses get super intimidated because they think you have to have a Coca-Cola budget or an NFL budget. And it's like, no, that's not true. That's why one of my favorite sayings that you always say is we root for the small to medium guy, because we have been the small and medium guy. So we know what to do and how to help you.
Yeah. And being a small business owner is challenging, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every day is different,
Yes.
and it's definitely a journey. It's not like you just wake up one day because of a marketing campaign that you've arrived.
Right.
You have small wins, but you also have a lot of losses, right? And you just keep on keeping on. And that's kind of the whole small business journey. And I know, Steph, you have experience with entrepreneurship because you grew up in a family where your dad started his own business. So tell me a little about that.
As a kid, it is you're proud. You're proud of your parent for seeing how hard they work. And of course, to provide a great life for you. I had a great childhood. But there are times when you could tell that dad was exhausted and he was tired and he wanted to do nothing but lay down. But it was his business. There was nobody else to do the work besides him. So he kept pushing and thriving, which definitely inspired me to, be motivated in the workplace. But entrepreneurship can be extremely difficult sometimes, especially when, you either need help and don't have it, or you're just tired, but you have to keep pushing no matter what.
And I think people forget is brutal,
Brutal.
and you hear so much like, oh, you got to chase your passion.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's great. Like, some of it is almost like, okay, I call BS because it's like, okay, yeah, do I love what I do? Yes. But are there days that I want to do something else because I'm human?
Yeah.
And you can love something and still have days. Example, a lot of people love their spouse.
Yes.
There are days they're tired of their spouse and they do not want to be around their spouse.
Right. You may love them, but you might not.
Jen Kwok tells me that all the time. So there are days she does not want to see me. So it's the same with the business.
It really
right?
is.
It could start off with your passion, but it comes along with, it's like a little baby. So you have to nurture, you have to grow it, and all this stuff. And it can be, there are days that you just absolutely love it.
Mm-hmm.
And there are days that you absolutely just want to strangle it and throw it away.
Fortunately, with entrepreneurship, you don't get to turn it off. If you have a client, go to work, do your work, leave work, and you forget about it. With entrepreneurship, you are on 24/7. And I've even seen it with you. I mean, with the team in Cebu, sometimes you have to be up in the middle of the night just to communicate with your team for your company.
Yep. And it's not like people think it's 8 to 5. I can promise you, okay, if you're not handed a silver spoon, okay, if you decide to go into business for yourself, I can almost guarantee you'll be working way more hours than if you work for someone else.
Yep.
So let me repeat that, okay? The pictures you see of entrepreneurs kicking back on the beach, the beautiful vacations and the nice cars and homes, are after years of hard work that you don't see.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of fails.
Yep. It's like an iceberg, okay? It's the bottom of the iceberg that you don't see. Mm-hmm. So don't let anyone lie to you, okay? I guarantee you, I would put money on this. You'll spend way more hours working for yourself than if you work for someone else.
So true.
So if you want 8 to 5, entrepreneurship is not for you. And it's like Steph said, you still have a life, but the difference is with work at 5, a lot of times you can leave work at work.
Mm-hmm.
Entrepreneurship, you come home and you could get a customer call. The product you invented could mess up. Even when you're a multi-billionaire, your solution can go down.
Look what happened.
Yeah. I guarantee you Mark Zuckerberg wasn't smiling, whenever Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and went down. And people don't give him enough credit, right? It's a software solution. Okay, he gets even more crap from everyone because it went down for maybe 7 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And any other software goes down, no one says anything. But with him, it's like the world just ended, and now he's a horrible human, and everyone's like, I'm not going to be on this platform. I'm going to TikTok. But hey, it happens. I was a software engineer. Okay, there's no magic. It doesn't matter how much money you have. Technology's designed to fail at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when was the last time? Or you wouldn't be buying new computers, new cell phones if technology's bulletproof.
Yep.
So, but anyway, with entrepreneurship, it's same. You just don't go home. You have to deal with all the crap too, right?
Mm-hmm.
People judge you. People don't know your heart. You have to deal with staff, team members that misunderstand you, and sometimes you mean well. But they might take it wrong because you're dealing with humans every day.
Right.
And yeah, go ahead.
You have 2 young boys too. And so you're still a full-time dad. I mean, that can't be easy to also know that, hey, if my company, I'm an entrepreneur, if my company goes down, I still have to find a way to provide for my family. And, I know you're never going to be too good to go, to McDonald's and get a job if you had to, but that has to be a lot of pressure.
Yeah. And I have, Yeah. So when I lost one of my businesses, I mean, I went back to help my uncle, and I fried chicken at the university where I graduated with my degree, because happens he owned a little Chinese restaurant joint inside the campus, and I helped him, entrepreneurship is learning to survive, right? You gotta be able to make it through the good and the bad, and there are days where it's amazing and it's a blessing to have a business, and and there are days that is a storm.
Yes.
Yep.
There's a saying that is one of my favorites, and I think this applies to the best entrepreneurs, is never be afraid to go get the coffee. Because who's normally getting the coffee? The interns. There you go, Kev. And I think sometimes what happens is people have this huge misconception that, okay, I'm going to be an entrepreneur, but then I'm going to be hands off. I'm the owner, the leader, the manager, everything in between, and I don't have to do anything. And that could not be further from the truth.
Yeah, I think it's easy to get prideful when things, okay, you start experiencing success, right? But you got to remember that success can be taken away anytime. You're not guaranteed that success. And in life, if you're out there, like, who could have predicted a global pandemic? None of us. Things can happen. You can leave your home today. I can leave my home today and get struck by a truck. And actually I got rear-ended yesterday. And so I did get struck by a 2016 Malibu. Not a truck, but I'm fine. But hey, what if it was a lot worse?
Right.
I might not go home.
Right.
So what does that picture look like, right? A lot of people don't think about those things. So what's all that pride for? Why do you care so much about how much you're making to show off what you're doing? Right. Because what if that gets taken? I think we live in a culture where we reward people for flexing. Oh, you're flexing, reward, thumbs up. You're flexing, reward, big hearts and emojis.
Comments everywhere.
It's the dumbest thing ever. You don't reward your child every time he does good, but you also reward them when they fail, because that's how they'll learn to fail forward. And that's something I do try to do as a father. It's not always about winning. I mean, we don't shout out to the losers enough, right?
I would
because
agree.
When you lose is when you learn. When you lose, you acquire skills that you never thought was possible. I can say when I had my bankruptcy in probably 2008, right? When I had my bankruptcy, it allowed me to understand how finances work. It allows me to be a better leader, a more humble leader, and it allowed me to understand, like, hey, you can be at the top of your game one day and you can lose it all.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that no one can take away from you is the value that you bring to the table.
So
what you learn. Yep.
And, you know, you have taught me so much within the months that I've been here that nobody can take away that value that you have, and nobody is going to have the exact same value that you do. So make sure you are taking care of the values and the skill set that you have, nurture it, grow it, because like you say, nobody else is going to have that exact same value set.
Yeah, so I've been watching that show, right, with Grant Cardone and some of the top CEOs where, they're undercover billionaires, right? And they go on, this venture of starting a $1 million evaluation business in 90 days, right? So they get the cell phone and $100, and they supposed to in a car, and they get drop off in these small dinky towns, and who knows, it might be a little produced, but at the end of the day, I do agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
If you've done it once, you can do it again, because it's not about the things.
Yes.
It's about what you have here, like what you've learned. Okay. Mm-hmm. So you learn from all your mistakes from the past, but business is not rocket science.
Right. Even as it changes, it's not rocket science either.
Yeah. Once again, listen here, people. Business is not rocket science. There's just a few formulas to create a business. One is be yourself, be authentic. You got to know yourself, who you are, and what matters to you. I feel too many people get caught up in the wealth or the money or this lie that, if you're successful, you get these things, and we chase this hamster wheel.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is you lose yourself. Okay, so it's about knowing yourself, knowing your value, that, hey, you're valuable and you can offer something to the world out there, and if you hone in on the value that you can bring that solves someone else's problem, you have a business.
Mm-hmm.
Because people are willing to pay for you to solve that issue or that problem. And then the next part is now you got to deliver and create that customer service where you really care.
Mm-hmm.
Like at J29, I care about my clients. Like I want to know them on a first name basis. I want to get back to them as soon as possible because I know they're small business owners and they need, sometimes you might think, oh, why, Kevin, you don't have to call them back right away. But if I have time, I do want to, because I don't like to be treated where I have to wait 2-3 days for an easy answer. Right. And as a small business owner, we don't have the resources sometimes to just wait around. We need help, So that's huge. Customer service, and then take care of your people. Take care of your team, because it's the people. Take care of your team, take care of the community, take care of the partnerships, because it's people who are going to propel you forward.
And, I'm going to brag on you and Jen here for a second. Going from where I was in my previous job, not exactly the management that I wanted to work under, and I'll leave that there. When I came to J29, it was such a breath of fresh air. You and Jen care. You guys actually consider, we're family now. We're part of the J29 family, and it's so refreshing to have bosses that want to know how I'm doing. They want to know what my weekend's like. They want to know not all the details, but they want to know how I'm doing in my personal life. And that makes me work 10 times harder, knowing that I'm working for somebody who cares what I do.
Yep.
You and Jen have been awesome about that.
Oh, thank you, Steph.
Yeah, of course.
No, and it matters so much because even for myself, right? I work underneath some not so good leadership, and it's a breath of fresh air when someone's encouraging, when someone really just takes the time to understand you. So like, even for me, I have jobs where I remember the management that I work for because they were there for me and they really supported my career, and then there was bosses that just made me belittle me, where I just like, it's almost like going back for abuse every morning.
Yeah,
it's like, give me more.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Yep.
Kevin, I have another question for you that I'm just curious on your opinion about. Why do you think people are so afraid to fail forward?
I think it's a pride.
Mm-hmm.
I really think it's human pride. I
Yeah.
remember I worked for Enterprise Rent a Car. Okay, I mean, it wasn't my proudest moment after owning a business where I was on the cover of their magazine in a small town where I went to college, right? And like I was on like the board and of different business things, and all of a sudden here I am at Enterprise Rent a Car, behind the counter. My boss is a 22-year-old, you know, and after I had all these business accomplishments, and I still remember that day, all of a sudden, I see someone who knew me in the business world and go, "What are you doing, Kevin, behind the counter?" And
Like,
I'm
aren't
like,
you here to get
I work here, you know, and it was so hard for me, and it was humiliating. I remember I would go behind in the back to just wash cars so people don't see me at first.
it?
And then after a while, I started falling forward. I go, why does it matter? And if those people on the other side of the counter are going to judge me, then they weren't my friends in the first place or people who truly care about me.
So true.
Right? So it's like, and you'll hear me say this a lot, when it comes to entrepreneurship, it wasn't about them in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
It was about me.
Yes.
So even your career journey, everything, right? You can take counsel from people you respect, like your parents. But at the end of the day, you're the one that has to live with it.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to be about you.
Yes.
And let me repeat that. It wasn't about them in the first place. It was about me. And until I learned that, it was so hard to fail forward. Because it was always about what other people think, or what my parents think, or what my relatives think. But when I eliminated all that and go, it's about me. Because guess what? I mean, it's just the reality. Your parents, one day you have to own it and become an adult, and they're going to be gone.
Right.
You're the one that's going to live with your future. All those business people, dude, when you go through bankruptcy and you lose a business, they're the fastest ones to disappear. You know, I lost 80% of my friends. You know, I mean, that is the reality. You know, when you don't have a value for them, and that the value wasn't you in the first place, those people are gone.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like I always use the analogy of moving. Okay? When you move and you invite people to move for you, you always get, oh, I'm busy with this, or I can't show up. There's always a nice little excuse, right?
Right.
And then you only have a handful of people who truly care about you that shows up.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's the same thing. And that's the business world, right? You know, and it's a lonely journey, but you have to remember the hard part about failing forward is really you have to develop thick skin to the point where you don't care. It's like, is Johnny, on the other side of that Enterprise counter go pay my mortgage?
Right.
Buy me my, next 6 meals for my kids? The truth is, it's not. But Enterprise will. Me renting a car to them, it will.
Absolutely.
So, like, why does it matter?
Right.
Yep. And for me, I think that has really helped me as a business owner, because if J29 wasn't here today, Steph, and I'm just, in all honesty, I would be the first one. Dude, McDonald's pays $16 an hour.
They do.
I don't mind. Will it hurt my pride a little bit? A little. But have I learned from every single job that I've taken in my life? Yes.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's so powerful that you're truly saying it doesn't matter. It's your journey is truly about you, not parents, not relatives, not friends, not family members, not other business owners who are going to judge you. It doesn't matter because it is about you.
Because I think once you have the fear of losing, there's nothing else to fear, right? Besides death, right?
Of
So
course.
it's like there's nothing to stop you.
Right.
You're the most. I would much rather have a competitor that cares about what they wear, how they look, than a competitor that's fearless. And
Yes.
I know anyone out there that's in athletics or play sports, they would understand exactly what I'm saying.
Yep.
Yep.
I love that. So powerful.
Mm-hmm.
I do have one more question.
Okay.
What is, and I'm putting you on the spot for this, what is your biggest life lesson that you've learned as an entrepreneur?
My biggest life lesson is you're going to be misunderstood a lot. And it goes back to what I just said. You have to take care. It's not being selfish when you try to take care of yourself. There's a saying I always say, you take care of number one. And I try to teach my kids that. It's not saying, hey, you don't love people, you don't care about people. But at the end of the day, you can only give what you have.
Mm-hmm. So
I
true.
think sometimes we have, certain personalities were born with big hearts. And we want to just give. And we just keep giving, and then we don't give to ourselves. We don't provide ourselves self-care. But if you don't have confidence, how are you going to help encourage others?
Right.
Yep. If you're broke, how are you going to buy someone coffee?
Right.
I think a lot of times, especially, growing up in a religious setting, I think sometimes we get this guilt that success or whatever is almost like selfishness. Oh, you're too focused on yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think if it's honed in correctly, you're able to change the world.
Yeah.
Right? So there's not enough successful people in society to change the world. So they need leaders who truly have integrity, who truly are authentic, and who truly care. And I think my biggest lesson is about people. If you can bring others up, you'll see the reward. It might not be instant.
Mm-hmm.
You might not see anything financially yourself. you know, but hey, if you can build other people, eventually it'll always come back to you.
Wow.
And I see it over and over again. And a big part of J29, we talk about giving, right? As part of our core value, is giving is not expecting anything in return.
Which is extremely misunderstood. People give, but they secretly want that, or they have a false expectation that Nine has done a phenomenal job of truly giving without any expectation of anything in return.
And people get misunderstood too. Giving doesn't always have to be monetary, because if you don't have it, you can't give monetarily. But then what can you do? Can you help someone by working?
Mm-hmm.
Or giving of your time? And I think there's a lack of the understanding of the power of giving. There's books written about it.
Yes.
But the problem is most people give with expectations.
Mm-hmm.
I call it a manipulative giving.
Yes.
So sorry to break it to you. That's not giving.
Right.
Okay? So giving is expecting nothing in return.
Otherwise, it's manipulation.
Yep. And if you can do that, I really think no matter what circumstance you're in, you'll come out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen this over and over in my, lifetime, just where I gave, and it didn't happen maybe right away, but 3 years later, I saw, because I gave that person, now here's a job opportunity.
Right.
A door that opened. Or, because I did this for this person, they knew someone else that helped me out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the power of it. And dude, when you give to others, you can build others. It builds you.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So true. And such an important lesson that I think applies to entrepreneurship, but applies actually to all aspects of life.
Yep. And with us, like at J29, we do digital marketing here, right? And we've been talking about kind of entrepreneurship and everything. And the difference is like we're on this journey just like all our clients, right? Our small, medium enterprises. We understand what it feels to be a small business owner. We understand the struggles you have. We understand that, when you say no to us, we understand why.
Mm-hmm.
We've said no to people who sell us stuff, and we understand too that when people say, oh, be everywhere, on social media and stuff, we understand that, hey, you also have the resources and the manpower to be everywhere. Right. So we understand the power of delegating, the power of, understanding like, hey, every penny that you have has to go.
Well, it does.
To make it work.
Yep. Always.
Yep. So Steph, so before we end today, so you're the relationship manager here at J29. What have you learned from just being around people, our clients? What have you learned?
Yeah. So I will honestly say before J29, when it came to people in relationships, I thought it was very black and white. If you said this would happen. If you did this correctly, you'd have all your ducks in a row. Everything would just fall into place. And there's so much gray area that I've learned after coming to J29. It's not just a, hi, how are you? Okay, now I can start selling to you, or I can start doing this. It's just not about that. Forget the sales. And that's something that, as I have watched you and Jen in your leadership, I've said, oh my gosh, they don't want to try to sell to somebody. If that happens afterwards, that's great. But you guys take the time to build and just create this genuine relationship because you actually care, not because there's any weird motivation behind it or manipulation, but truly because you care about the people. And I think that is something that I do outside of work, but now I've been able to bring that and translate it into a work setting as well. And it's helped build my confidence in relationship with people too, not feeling the quote pressure all of a sudden.
Yep.
Have to sell something.
Yeah. So let's see here. It looks like there's quite a few people coming on. He said you help, Jeremy C said you help the small and medium guy have NFL quality production. J29 rocks.
Thanks, Jeremy. No, I will say, Anthony, what's going on? Anthony, I messaged you. I hope you messaged me back. No, Kev, and we said this earlier in the show, but I just think, hey, Jen, it is so, when I've said this to clients after hearing you say it, and what I've heard you say so many times is we root for the small and medium guys because everybody wants the big guys. And I told that to one of our clients before we had signed with them, and they go, oh my gosh, I never even thought about that. Everybody wants the big guys, but it's so nice to finally have somebody who has my back. And I think it's just important that J29 has and always will be that way.
Yep. And that's the heart. The heart is like, hey, I'd much rather take someone that is a small business and turn them into a multi-million-dollar business.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to appreciate me a lot more than someone who's a Nike.
And if anybody can do it, it's you and Jen.
Yeah, we're just another agency. But at the end of the day, I think a takeaway I like you all to take is marketing isn't rocket science. It's about people.
Mm-hmm.
So remember, when it's about people, there's no magic formula. Think of what it takes to build relationships. Think about how you build relationships offline, your personal relationships. How do you make friends? Ask yourself that question. If you're not likable, okay, then you're probably not going to be likable online. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry to say that, but that's just the reality. So think about, how do I make friends offline? And that's the energy you bring to marketing. Be authentic, be genuine. It's the best thing you can have. And it's not rocket science. It's relationships matter. And if you listen to Gary Vee, Cardone, all these people, they'll always equate it back to the relationships that they built.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It's not, stop focusing on, I hate this word, lead generation and ROI. You cannot put a price tag on the relationships that I have today.
Listen to that, people.
And that's my entire career has been predicated on relationships, not a lead gen.
Mm-hmm.
There was times people gave me $1,000 because of a relationship I built in my hardest time, and that $1,000 became $10,000, and that $10,000 became $30,000. It was a relationship I built. It wasn't a lead.
Mm-hmm.
So stop focusing on leads. Go back to focusing on relationship. Building a business is the same as building friends. Friends who's got your back. So we're going to jump off today, and thanks for joining us. And remember, building a business is building relationships that's got your back. All right. Have a good one, guys.
Thank you, everybody, for joining.
Later. Thanks for joining us.